Welcome to this video tutorial on how to construct a basic drum pattern using Logic's piano roll editor. By opening up Logic, if you don't have it in your dock, you can use the Finder. Click on the Finder and open Applications. There you can scroll and look for Logic Pro X. Remember here that you will want to double click. Once the program has opened, you can go to File, and if you already have an old project opened, when you choose New, it will close the old file. Once you have a new file open, make sure you go back to your File menu and click Save As. You'll want to name this project Drumbeat 1 so that you can find it later. Once a project is named and saved, a pop-up menu will ask you if you want to replace that file. The file name shows up at the top of your screen. See the arrow. The next arrow shows you highlighting the channel strip. This allows you to get to your sample library where you can pick different sampled sounds like drums, piano, guitar, pretty much anything. By using the gray sliders at the bottom of your library, you can pull it over and start trying out different drum sounds. For this first project, you have two options. You can use an acoustic drum kit or an electronic drum kit. There are a variety of sounds in each category. For now, you can only use the sounds that are highlighted in bright white. The sounds that are in dark gray have yet to be downloaded, and you need administrative passwords to get in there. You can begin testing different types of drum sounds by choosing a drum sound, and once it loads, you'll hit the key command P. Just on your keyboard, just hit the letter P. This will bring up the piano roll editor. If you scroll down, you can see all the different sounds assigned to your MIDI keyboard. These are in your sample library. You can test them out by clicking the mouse above one of the piano keys or by clicking the actual names of the drum you want to hit. You can also use your MIDI keyboard. Just hit the piano keys or the assignable drum pads. The goal of this lesson is to show you how to create a basic drum beat inside Logic's piano roll editor. In the second Drumbeat tutorial, we'll take a look at changing time signature and subdivisions. But for now, let's just take a look at how you can change the tempo or speed of the drum pattern that we're going to make. You should set this to 100 beats per minute. Just click on the tempo numbers, hold down your mouse key, then drag your mouse up or down. Now, using your mouse, you can scroll over to the top of your screen and turn on the metronome tab. Once you hit the metronome tab, you can either hit the play button or your space bar on your keyboard, which will start the program playing, and you will be able to hear the tempo of your project. I'll hit my space bar now so you can hear the tempo of my project. So that's how we kind of measure or map out sound. I'm going to drag the cursor back to the beginning of my measure, and I'm going to hit the kick drum. By using my command key on my computer keyboard, the arrow will turn into a pencil. And now I can draw in notes that will stay in my piano roll editor. You may need to go up to your main editing window, take the green region that was just created and stretch it out. This will give you more space in your piano roll editor. Back in the piano roll editor, I'm going to look for the main white lines that identify it's every 4 squares, and I'm going to add another kick drum. And now if I hit my spacebar or the play button, the kick drum is hitting exactly when the click is hitting. Listen to that again. For this exercise, the bass drum is right on the click, so I can turn the metronome off if I want, or I can leave it on. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a hi-hat. A hi-hat is a smaller sound, softer sound, and I'm going to add 2 of them for every kick drum. We can use the zoom controls to get in closer and accurately add in what are called eighth notes. Using the hi-hat sound, let's put in notes that are up to 2 squares on our grid with no empty squares in between. Follow my pattern that I have entered. When you're done with this, hit the play button and see if it sounds like mine. If playing through that one time wasn't enough, you can use your cycle button. This creates a playback loop. When the loop turns yellow, you can hit your spacebar and it will play it over and over again for you. Adjust your playback loop for one measure, from number 1 to 2. To stop your playback, just hit the spacebar or the stop button, and then unhighlight the loop whenever you want to. You do this by hitting the C button or your cycle button at the top of your transport. Now I'm adding in a snare or a backbeat to numbers 2 and 4 within my first measure. Notice now that I'm using the velocity tool. I click on a note and then I go over to the velocity section and I raise that velocity. This will make that individual note louder or more intense. Next, let's do the same thing for the hi-hats, except we're going to reduce the velocity, giving an accent on the first ones and making every other one softer. Now, when I hit my spacebar, the beat sounds like this. This is a very standard functional drum pattern. Nothing amazing going on here yet. But from here, you can start to customize it. If you need to, shorten or lengthen your region in the arrange window above. Make sure that you don't grab the top, it will loop it. Looping a region means that it will play back the region that you want, but you won't be able to change any of the edits. So instead, shorten that region back up and then pull from the bottom. If you pull from the bottom, it will just simply give you more space to work in. And then what you can do is you can copy and paste the notes you have already drawn in and move them to a new location. You can do this by clicking and dragging your mouse controller over the material you want copied. Once it's all correctly highlighted, use Command key plus the C key at the same time to copy. Then move the cursor line exactly where you want your copied material to be put. You can then hit Command V and it will paste it exactly where the cursor was lined up. For this exercise, we should try and copy and paste the material so that it covers measures 1, 2, and 3. And then we can begin constructing measure 4 with new material. I'd like to use measure 4 as a transition. By writing in new material, we are going to create a traditional drum fill. This will act as a turnaround, setting us up for the next 4 measures or the next section of the song. We are going to go back to the list of drum sounds and start looking for what's called a high tom, a mid tom, and a low tom. We're going to use those drums and adjust the velocity of those drums to create a drum fill. I'm going to draw in and shorten the notes so that they only fit one box on the grid. These are now called 16th notes because there are 16 squares in the entire measure. I'm going to lower the velocity of the last 3, and I'm going to repeat this pattern on different drum sounds. If you can write in the same ones that I am, you will get the same exact pattern that I've drawn in. If you need to, pause the video at any time so that you can give yourself time to put in all of these steps. Now you're going to see how you can use the quantize button. Not every time you pencil in a note will they line up on the grid exactly, so you may need to straighten them out. Using the quantize feature, you highlight the notes and then use the letter Q, and these notes will fix themselves. Watch again. Watch as the notes will slide back into the grid when you hit the quantize. There it goes. You can also cut and paste these notes, and again by using your cursor line, Command C, Command V, and then just drag down the entire group of notes to the instrument sound that you want. I'm going to do this one more time. My cursor line is adjusted, copy and paste, and now I'm going to drag these down to the next sound that I want. Let's take a listen at what we have so far. Highlight my cycle region. Alright, so at this time, I'm going to start to customize this beat just a little bit. We're going to move the first hi-hat up to a cymbal crash. Alright, and now I'm going to add another softer cymbal at the beginning of bar 3, clicking and dragging and pulling it up. And then I'm going to make a small addition to the last snare drum at the end of bar 2. Going to add a lighter snare. I'm going to put in 2 of them on 16th notes, and I'm going to drop the velocity. This is all that we need to do for the first project. If you've made all those edits, you can go back up to your arrange window and shorten the green region so that it matches your cycle bar. There's one more very important step to do before you can submit this first beat and play it on a media player like the one on your phone or any cloud-based app like SoundCloud or YouTube. You're going to have to complete a process called a bounce. Bouncing is basically saving, exporting, and converting your project file to a WAV and or MP3 file all at once. Your Logic software does most of the work. All you have to do is hit the Command key plus B, and the export will begin. It'll ask you how you want the file to be saved, where you want the file to be saved, how long the file should be. To guarantee that the media player that you choose will play it, you should set this to WAV for a WAV file, as well as have the MP3 button checked. Do not add any of your projects to iTunes at this time. Then go ahead and click OK. Another window comes up. Logic asks you where you want to save it. Try to save it to your desktop. It's the easiest place to find it. And then click Bounce. This will only take a second because your file is pretty small at this time. It's okay to quit Logic, save your project, and now you'll find that your Logic beat has been converted to an MP3 and a WAV. Take the MP3 and drag it into Microsoft Office where you can hand in your project. You can also plug in your phone, drag this on your phone, and hear it played on your phone's media player. And you've just finished your first beat.